Hi there, and welcome to Dork Wars Live. My name is Blake. This is your galactic hub for all things Star Wars and more. I'm here with one of the best hosts in the galaxy, the ever elusive Grant. How's it going, Grant?
Hello there. It's good to be elusive and here all at the same time.
Yeah, it's pretty magical actually that you're here with us. I think you're the first Dork Wars co-host to actually be on Dork Wars Live other than myself. So
I know. I mean, we you can't just leave it up to you, Blake. Some of us have to sub in every now and again. So
that's
here
true.
I am.
So we have some very special guests tonight. First up, we have Dani from Comics and Cosmetics, a Red 5 newbie. How's it going, Dani?
It's going pretty good, guys. Pretty excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. Of course. Next up, we have Nicole from the Rogue One Radio podcast. How's it going, Nicole?
Hi, very good. Thank you. I'm excited to be here with Dani and the coming podfather, shall I say. Excited. And hello to the
yeah.
and make sure hit
Well,
the subscribe button to these guys if you guys haven't already.
That's right. Like and subscribe. We'd love to have you guys as regular listeners. And I'm going to get to that in a moment, Joker voice. We will get there. But first, before we get to that, we have the Podfather himself, the Grand Palpy Palps of the Red 5 Network himself, Ro from the podcast. How's it going?
What is up, everybody? Look at all these wonderful people in the chat and on screen. I love you all. Wow. Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. Is it a great live stream without Ro? Maybe,
I thought,
but it definitely is with him
Probably.
here.
I thought he preferred Scuttle Daddy now.
Oh,
I can't control what other people call me. I've tried.
It's up to the masses, really. That's how these things go. But as Joker Voice astutely pointed out, I am wearing a lot of Duke Blue Devils gear. I am a crazy college basketball fan, and they are playing right now on my TV. They're up by 5 in the NCAA tournament, and this is for the Final Four berth. So I'm definitely into it, but I'm definitely into this podcast as well. Unfortunately, our co-host Grant is a UNC fan.
Yes, yes. Hey, we're playing tomorrow
Girls.
night, so
Here's the
carrying our way
hoping
through.
they lose. But it's great to see everybody in the chat. I see Joker Voice, Lunar Girl with the Blue Wrench, Backyard TARDIS, Megan Rickards. I'm loving it. Guys, we're going to have a great time with Dork Wars podcast. So let's get into a little bit of news. Now hear this.
Now hear this! Now hear this!
Now you hear this, whoever you are.
So first up, we have some Star Wars news. It is reported that Christopher Lloyd has been cast in The Mandalorian Season 3. So, Ro, what do you think about this, man? I want to come to you first. What do you think about Christopher Lloyd?
I love Christopher Lloyd. I'm not sure if I'm liking bringing all these like mega stars into Star Wars, and I've said this on a couple of shows. It's kind of weird to for me. And I guess it's because I'm still a kid at heart. This is less of a. This is gonna sound weird. This is less of a movie franchise to me than like more of like a documentary, because it says it on at the beginning of every movie. It happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So it's actually This is historical. I don't want to see Tom Cruise as a Jedi. I don't want to see. It's kind of like a weird thing. But that being said, I think Christopher Lloyd will, bring his quirkiness like he does to every role. I think he's going to be great, whatever it is that he's playing. It's interesting to me that they announced this actor in particular that, he's going to be in the season 3. We don't have any other indication of any other actors kind of coming in to play a role. So we'll see what, is he going to be on screen? Is he going to be playing an alien and just a voiceover? So we don't know. I'm looking forward to it and, to see what he has to offer.
Yeah, I love Christopher Lloyd. Back to the Future are some of the best films. I love Back to the Future. I love him as the villain in Roger Rabbit. I love him in Clue. Like, he's everything that Christopher Lloyd is amazing. But I will give you this, Ro. Star Wars started out with casting nobodies and making them megastars.
Right.
That was what it was about. Finding people who are not well known and telling an amazing story with them, and then they just pop off, right? But that's not going to happen when you already have Danny Trejo making a cameo or Christopher Lloyd, all this stuff. So, Nicole, I want to come to you. What do you think about Christopher Lloyd in Mando Season 3?
So I'm like Ro here. Like, to a degree, yes, am I excited? Because great Scott, you know, it's Christopher Lloyd. But at the same time, I made this mention in the book of Boba Fett. I said, you know, we have this beautiful Jennifer Beals, Garza flip just for the Scuttle Day, just for you. But I think, what is her purpose? You have this big mega star, and there was really no purpose at the end of the day. They really could have brought in a brand new actress and given them a new start here, and yet they kind of had this big name, and they just kind of threw it away, so to speak, towards the end. I mean, they could have kept her for Roe. Come on, you know? So I really do hope, I know. So I hope they really do work this in a good way, because if they just throw it away and not use it, like, okay, here's a good one. Nick Nolte, right? He was just in season 1 of The Mandalorian.
Right.
But Quill had a purpose.
Sure.
He had a purpose, and it made sense. So I want that to happen again. I don't want it to be a throwaway like Jennifer Beals, you know. I mean, they could have at least gave her something else, or an origin story or something to kind of, I don't know, something.
Yes, so. Joker, she is. Next.
How dare you?
She is still big. Maybe not as big as she was maybe in the 80s, but I mean, she's still obviously getting a lot of acting work done. So
Flashdance changed my life.
Yeah. Oh,
Like-
Flashdance. I think it also
Mine
changed
too.
Yeah. It changed
We're going Dork Wars After Dark, baby.
Sarah. So yeah,
But,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and you're right. They threw away Jessica Biel as Garza Fwip. It really seemed like she was gonna do something big.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you just never found out what it was. Like, I thought she was a bad guy. Like, I thought she was gonna betray Boba or something like that, or either just save him at the end. Something. No, she just gets blown up in her cantina, and it was sad. Like, wasted character.
You get this. This is exactly what I was thinking, like, during the book of Boba Fett, from the beginning to the end. I'm like going, there's more to her. There's more to her. There's something more to her. And then all of a sudden there it went. And I was like, well, it's going to be a sad day for Ro. That's all I thought. I didn't even think about her as character. I thought about poor Ro here. Like, oh,
And
man, he's sad today.
We should have
And
sent
then they
them flowers.
leave it up to, they leave it up like to a cliffhanger. Like, it blew up, but we don't see the body. She could be alive. And then the season finale pretty much opens up with Garza Fwip just out there. I was like, oh, no. Poor Ro.
Yeah.
So, Danny, what do you think about Christopher Lloyd and what he's going to be doing in Mando Season 3? Are you for it? Are you not for it? What's up?
She's got to take a drink first.
Chug.
I have the same concerns about big celebrity names being tossed into things. A lot of times it's a distraction. You know, they didn't pull through with production or writing or directing. So they're like, throw this guy in there. Kind of like I thought that way about Faith Hill and Tim McGraw in 1883. I was wrong. I can admit when I'm wrong. That one was not a distraction. Just give them their Emmys now. And I love Christopher Lloyd. I mean, I'm the child of the 80s and 90s. Sure. Back to the Future. That's all you need to say. And of course, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? But I mean, he's always going to be Doc Brown. But he is a phenomenal actor. He really does have the chops. So I was just kind of here kicking around in my head, like, well, what could they do with him? What would be an acceptable use of Christopher Lloyd in The Mandalorian? And I mean, we got a couple of options. What if he's, when Din goes to Mandalore and he's looking for, the underground waters of Mandalore, what if he finds Christopher Lloyd as an old Mandalorian priest or something. That would be kind of cool. And yes, Taxi, you're absolutely right. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. You're absolutely right. But he could be, some kind of, for lack of a better phrase, he could be a Mandalorian priest, watching the living waters. He could be a Mandalorian. He could be a Vizsla. I mean, we don't.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. Or it could be a flashback. He could be a flashback to Tar Vizsla.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
Or he could be a flash
really
dance. Oh, sorry. I've got her in my But Danny's got a point. I think I'm really hoping that they use him correctly. They use his quirkiness, his characterizations, all the characters that he's ever played. Just they have some sort of magic to them, and I hope they really, really use that. It'll be a treat for us fans, anyways.
I think so too. And like I said before, I love Christopher Lloyd. I love all of his work. I mean, just even the things that the chat's coming up with. He's been in Taxi. He was in the Addams Family. Amazing stuff. So I know Grant's a big Back to the Future fan. His uncle, my cousin, me and Grant are related. But his uncle really got me into a lot of geekdom, and Back to the Future is one of those things. And that's where I first was introduced to Christopher Lloyd, and that stuck with me for a long, long time. And I know Grant's probably the same way. So what do you think about this, Grant? Where are you at with Christopher Lloyd in the Mando season 3?
Yeah. So Christopher Lloyd, I got the deal off that story real quick. Like, it's Back to the Future was my introduction to him, and then Who Framed Roger Rabbit, because that's also something that my uncle Blake's cousin introduced me to. It's just like it was just hand in hand, and he's so great there. And that actually goes into what I think his character is going to be. I think he's going to be kind of sciencey, like Doc Brown was in Back to the Future. He's going to be. I think he's going to be part of one of the head people in the cloning process for Palpatine. And I think we're going to explore more of that, because you think Moff Gideon's gone. He's not gone. He's going to be there, but he's not the main villain anymore. They kind of handled him, said, all right, we've taken care of him, so who's going to step up? And I think as like a bridge till we get to Grand Admiral Thrawn, eventually is going to be this character that Christopher Lloyd is playing. And I think he's going to have some of the quirkiness like he did in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. In that film, he's a villain. He's very quirky. He's very, animated, because it's an animated film. It makes sense. But I think they're going to draw on aspects from those two films specific, or I guess film series and film specifically, and really make his character an evil genius type of person. And I think that's where he's going to be, and he's going to be high up on the Empire.
Ooh,
interesting.
Because you want Christopher Lloyd to be the good guy. Normally, he's the good guy. Of course, not in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
He plays such a good villain in that film. Like, I feel like his ability to play villains is underused.
Right. And Backyard TARDIS says Christopher Lloyd can lose himself in a role. So if he's an alien or a droid, I'm all for it. But if he's a cloner or a mechanic, he will feel like Doc Brown, and it will take me out of it. And that's really the problem with casting big names in these films, like we were just talking about, is just kind of losing focus of where the story is going, because, oh my gosh, I just saw Brad Pitt in Star Wars, or whatever the case may be.
Danny,
but,
sorry. Just now.
But I'm excited for it. I love Christopher Lloyd. I think he's going to do a bang-up job. But let's just keep this thing to a minimum, right? So moving on, I'm sure all of us have seen the Batman. I don't think Grant has, but he said it's okay. He has. I have his blessing to talk about this. So
yeah,
a Batman deleted scene was released this week, and it was a big one. I loved it. Just some interaction between the Batman and Joker that we didn't get to see in the movie. We get to see Joker at the end of the movie a little bit, and him talking to the Riddler. And to be honest with you, when I first saw the movie, I first thought it was Two-Face, because you see his face and it's all kind of weird on one side, but it turns out it's the Joker. And this deleted scene between Batman and the Joker just brings out a lot of good, just back and forth. Just, we now know that he's faced the Joker. He's put him in Arkham. And not only that, the Joker has already started tormenting Batman in the way that only the Joker can. So, guys, what do we think about this deleted scene? I'll come to you first, Danny. Let's start with you on this. Yeah.
Wow, she turned into the Joker.
I was so excited when I saw that scene. Okay, I'm stacked up on Tupperware right now. I told you it's not put together yet. Rubbermaid toes. And I've even got my lightsaber mixer.
Very nice.
That's right.
So cool. Anyway, I was really excited when we got that scene because Barry Keoghan is doing a phenomenal Joker, and I've seen complaints about it, but that just shut up. You're complaining about nothing. Like he's doing an amazing job. He looks like he fell in acid. You know, all those scars on his head, all that. Just give me a minute, Joker. Well, he really does look like he fell in a vat of acid and got disfigured from that. Loved that kind of horror effect. It really evokes Killing Joke to me, or Death in the Family. Loved it. His laugh, and just the way he talks to him, like, oh, a present. Our anniversary is coming up. Like he's such an a-hole. And then when he slid him the files, right away, I saw the paperclip. Right away, listen to him. I see the paperclip and I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a smart idea. You know, slide the psychopath and criminal a paperclip while he's locked up at a state facility. That nothing bad's going to happen there. And then what happens when he's sliding it back? Paperclip's done.
Paperclip.
So some poor guard is going to get a fucking paperclip in the eyeball.
Yep, that's how I do it.
And then there goes the Joker. I mean, it was... give me a minute, Joker. I mean, just give Barry a chance. Give Barry Keoghan a chance. I know you're all about... Just give him a chance, man. It really evoked me, like, when Batman ate it on that overpass.
Yeah.
You know, he's making mistakes because he's still a rookie. This is just his second year doing this.
Yeah.
Right. So he slides in the file folder. It doesn't even register to him. Oh, shit, man. Those paper clips might be a bad idea.
Whoops.
Yeah. Doesn't even think about it. And I guarantee you got the folders back and like that piece of paper falls up. He's like, well, I could have sworn I had this attached with a paper clip. I must have dropped it. Surely the psycho didn't steal it. He's being watched. So that's what I love because it's showing a very freshman amateur Batman who's just learning how to do this stuff. And that's going to be the perfect combination. You know, he's not going to see it coming from Joker yet. And that's what we need to see in a Batman movie where he doesn't really know the Joker that well right now. Right. And them kind of getting to know each other in this, you know, guy you really shouldn't be dating aesthetic. Like everyone else can see it's a bad idea. Yet,
yeah.
You just keep going around in circles.
Batman Year 2, the okayest detective in the world. So, Nicole, what do you think of this deleted scene? Did you like it? Did you think it would have added to the movie? Should they left it in or no?
Okay, so I loved this deleted scene. It was amazing. It got me excited. I can't wait until they actually get to that, whether it's in the Arkham series or hopefully they won't put him in the next movie, but in the third movie. But I'm glad they deleted it. And the reason why is because I want it to still been on Riddler. I still wanted it to be on Batman. I loved the scene. It's amazing. But at the same time, I'm glad they did because they needed to have that focus on Batman the Riddler. And that clip part was hilarious. And JV, be nice. Give the new Joker a chance. So I think he's going to be awesome. And you know what? The last two I said with Keith and Joaquin Phoenix, both times months ahead, I was like, they're both gonna win Oscars. They're gonna do great. They put this guy in the movie. I think that it's a possibility, maybe, but hopefully not the next one. I want it in a third movie. I want something else. I want to build up, man. But I'm excited.
That's something we don't get in a lot of Batman movies is build up, and we actually had a Batman episode a couple weeks ago on our main Dork Wars, the podcast line of episodes. And one thing that really got me was Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight. I love his character. I love him as Two-Face, but I felt like, we were introduced to him in The Dark Knight, and he became the Joker 2/3 of the way through the film, and it's like, take some time to give the man a breath. Like, he just got here. Like, I would have loved to have seen him evolve into the Two-Face maybe by the end of the third movie or something like that. It would have been interesting, but instead they just, boop, there he is.
If they would have done like a series, that would have been really doable.
I could see that as well. So, Ro, what do you think about this deleted scene in the Batman, rather?
It must have been very difficult for the director to cut that scene. It was shot so incredibly well. The soft focus, the not revealing who this guy was, over the shoulder shots, the detail on the back of the head. It, like I said, it was so well done. It must have been really difficult to cut that scene. But I'm glad they did. I think it's, we talk about the fact that how, sometimes when you bring some, either an actor or a character into an ensemble piece, then all of a sudden the attention goes there where it should be, somewhere else. Like Danny says, let Batman shine, let the Riddler shine. If you bring the Joker in, we're like, oh, like what's he gonna do next? What's happening here? We pay attention to the wrong thing. I'm glad they cut it. I'm gonna disagree with Joker voice and think and say that it was incredibly powerful. It is a Joker, I think, that we have not seen in live action. So horrific, so grotesque. And at the same time, you think about our audiences today, how far can we go in that direction before audiences are like, this might be too dark. But for the most part, I loved it.
Yeah, I did too. And I really think they should get Danny to do the Joker's makeup. Comics and cosmetics, right? The Joker's known for his marvelous makeup, and who do we have here but Miss Comics and Cosmetics herself?
That would
So
be
I'm not
my
going to ask.
dream.
Yeah, I'm putting in
There
the
you
call
go.
right now.
What took you so long?
That's right. So I'm not going to ask
my
Grant
set
about this.
notes. I have my set notes from Brian's site for the Ahsoka Tano look, like right over there. Like I'm getting ready to frame it and hang it up.
That's right.
I know how to make at least Rosario Dawson look like Ahsoka Tano.
Nice.
Very exciting.
So I'm not going to ask Grant about this because he's not even seen the Batman. Oh, come on, Grant.
It's
it
busy,
together,
man.
Grant.
It's difficult. You know my life, Blake.
I know. In 3
Don't get
hours
me
to
started,
go see the
youngling.
theater. But great movie. I loved it. I think it was like Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan had a love child, and that was this movie.
And
But
what would that
moving
look
on
like?
now. The Batman. I just said it was the
I'm
Batman.
not going to sleep tonight.
Sorry about that. That's my fault. So, moving on now. Dork Wars, the podcast, has a merchandise store.
Merchandising. Merchandising? What's that? Merchandising. Come, I'll show you. Open up the store.
So we have Dork Wars the t-shirt, Dork Wars the hoodie, Dork Wars the coffee mug, and yes, we even have Dork Wars the lightsaber. That's not true because that technology does not exist, and it would be bad if it did. But go check us out. Type in Dork Wars Linktree into Google. You will find everywhere that we're at and our merchandise store. We'd love to have you wear Dork Wars on your person. So next up, I do want to talk about the Red 5 a little bit. I like plugging the Red 5 when I do my podcasts because it is an excellent group of people, not just podcasts, not just shows, but people. And even here, I have 3 people who are not on my show who are on my live stream, and we're just like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's get in there. Red 5 staying alive. Red 5 family. I love it. Dani is the newest member of Red 5 Comics and Cosmetics. So I'm honored that you came on the show tonight.
Thanks.
And
I'm honored you asked me.
I just want to welcome you because it's crazy. We've been in for 7 or 8 months now, and it's really changed the way I've done my podcast and even this live thing. I probably wouldn't be doing this right now if it wasn't for Red 5 because I got the experience coming in on other people's shows and guesting and amazing stuff.
I definitely owe that to Ro and Shanti for kind of first of all, showing me the software. I didn't even know it existed. The first time I was ever on a podcast with other people was the Scarif podcast. And, I had just signed up for Twitter. Funny story, about 10, 11 years ago, I had a nightmare that I signed up for Twitter. And so I woke up the next day and decided, you know what? I'm just never going to sign up for Twitter. That was horrifying. True story.
Sounds right.
So
why did I do that to myself? Yeah.
Well, then I did the interview with Details, who's actually a friend of ours. He's been friends with my boyfriend for 25 years. They met in Hawaii when my boyfriend was in the Army, and Dee was just hanging out in Waikiki partying. Like, Dave had no idea who he was. He found out like 10, 15 years later he was in this big boy band and he was in Star Wars movies. Like, he had no idea.
Wow.
So when I started the channel, I'm talking to Dee and I was like, hey, let me interview you. He's like, cool. Well, I posted the interview and all of a sudden Dee's like, hey, you need to get on Twitter. I said, nope, I had a nightmare 10 years ago. Not doing it. And he's like, no, you really need to get on there because they're sharing the video around. Just please get on there. And so I did. And almost right away, Ro reached out to me and he was like, hi. Like, hi, I don't know what I'm doing.
How you doing?
That's right.
That's me. But
I don't have this saved on my phone. Just it's not creepy. I'm sorry. I was just looking through the Twitter feed and I saw your post. It's not
creeping on everything.
I know. Sorry.
But no, it was. I mean, right away, Ro kind of. I don't know if he meant to at all, but you kind of just took me under your wing, and I met all of these people, and they've all been so nice and so helpful. And suddenly, for the first time in my adult life, I have friends. And then
didn't you tell your significant other that you had like Red 5 network friends, and we wanted you to go see Batman with us or something? And then what did he say?
He was like, "Bye."
Yeah, go meet your internet friends. That's fine.
He doesn't want to go. He came up with the idea for Comics and Cosmetics because honestly, he was like, "Look, you need an outlet for this shit. I really don't care. But, if you want me to watch a show with you, I'll watch a show with you. But you don't have to pause every 5 seconds and explain every single character's origin story. I don't care." So he came up with this idea, and now I have friends, and I'm always on my phone, and I'm doing this stuff, and I'm like, you asked for this, homie.
It's great. I tell you, the Red 5 family chat is never asleep. There's always someone saying something.
Yeah, you guys weren't kidding. I wake up in the morning, and there's like 300 messages. Like, you know what? I'm going to read the last 3, and then get my
Hit
coffee.
the arrow down.
Yeah. So, and I try to.
And yeah. Exactly. It's like the last 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm like,
and then you just type in ha 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 ha, and then
like,
wait for the next 300.
But long meandering story, made short. Too late.
Yeah.
My channel most definitely would not be where it is right now had I not met you guys, and that's really been awesome and meant the world to me. So thank you so much for having me.
That's awesome. Of course.
So thanks.
We love it. So we have the Dork Wars link tree posted there. I didn't type that. Somebody else did who has access to our YouTube channel. It must have been Grant. Great. Thanks,
It was
Grant.
me.
Way to go. Way to stay on top of things. I was like, who the heck is Dork Wars Podcast? That's me. And Little Girl has the bio.link Red 5. You can find all the Red 5 shows with that link. And there's 37 of us now? 38? Somewhere in there.
Yeah,
I mean,
somewhere there.
We're growing like mad, and we're having fun all the time doing it. I love the Red 5. It's awesome. So, with that said, let's get into our main topic for tonight, and here it is.
Punch it!
Oh yeah, tonight we are talking the original trilogy. So I've got this this plan for a series. This is part 1. We're going to go through each trilogy of the Star Wars series, and we're going to start with the original because that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So we're going to go through. I'm going to ask some questions. At the end, we are going to rate this thing. And I'll keep up with the tallies. And you know, if we don't have the same number on each podcast, it's probably going to I'll try to even it up. We'll see what's up with that when I get there. We'll cross that bridge. But first, what do you think are these trilogies' best attributes? The original trilogy. What are some of the best things about it? And I want to come to Ro first because I know that this is Ro's favorite trilogy. I know that he's just steeped in these 3 movies. So, what are the best things about the original trilogy of Star Wars?
Wow, that's not an easy question to answer. The original trilogy obviously is the original one that got us all hyped up to do what we do here. And for whatever reason, we connected with said trilogy, whether it was characters or storyline or the actors or anything like that. The original trilogy works on our deepest emotions on some level. It is all those things that I mentioned. It's story, it's concept, the way they were put together, and for me in particular, it's all the behind the scenes stuff that really got me excited to learn about the craft of filmmaking and getting into my career and all that stuff. So it's you can't answer that question with a simple "this is why Star Wars is Star Wars." It works on so many levels around the globe to many people, but I think for the most part it has a unifying message of hope, and I know that's kind of cliche and everybody might say that, but George Lucas started these movies to give hope to a group of young people that were suffering through the 60s and early 70s with everything that was going on in society at that time. You had Watergate, you had the Vietnam War, you had civil rights, the movement, civil rights movement. So it's all that stuff that George wanted to create and introduce new fairy tales and new tales of morality into the public pantheon for young folks to kind of remember that there is hope in the world. And I think Star Wars does that masterfully. He borrows certain motifs from different stories in religion and history and all sorts of things. So like I said, it's not one thing that works on a specific aspect of your personality. It's many things, and I think that is what makes Star Wars so classic as a story, and it continues to live through all the other incarnations that this franchise has generated.
Yeah, and I can agree with that, Ro. I thought you were to go for about 2 hours. So
I could.
I know you could. I know. Just hearing you talk about the original trilogy, man, it's so romanticized when you talk. I wish I could talk about it that way. But But you're right. It is something that was fresh. It was original. And while George Lucas does borrow from different stories, he brings it to us in such a way that no one had ever seen it before up to that point. A space odyssey, a space adventure, fantasy. It was just amazing. And those films still hold up today. Even just the practical effects that were used still hold up today. Yeah, there's some better stuff now, but that was 1977, right? And you can still watch those movies and be like, man, what they did there was really, really great, especially for the time. And just the message of hope. The Joker voice says it here, the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. Yes, sure. It's a hero's journey. And that is something that everyone likes to see. I mean, I don't care who you are. And it's a unifying thing. So, Nicole, what are some of the original trilogy's best attributes? What do you think about that?
I think it broke, you'd mentioned the practical effects. I think it broke the mold there. We were on the cusp of something new and more, and they were pushing new boundaries, new ideas were happening in technology and, with how things were being shot and filmed. I cannot forget to mention the iconic music with John Williams, because really you can listen just to John Williams without actually watching the movie, and yet you can see the movie in your mind. And that is phenomenal. That is amazing. And I think that's an amazing attribute to John Williams and to Star Wars. Kudos to George Lucas for making sure all that got together. And of course, the amazing at the time, all the new actors and actresses, what they were considered as unknown other than maybe American Graffiti. Everybody else was pretty brand new. So again, I thought that really brought something new to it. So, and it's just too bad that I wasn't, born and alive in 1977 to been old enough to go, because that would have been really awesome.
I know. I experienced Star Wars the first time in the mid to late 1990s with the special releases, and
I'm sorry,
amazing. They were still a great story, but yeah, I would have loved to see the originals when they came out as well. And Luna Girl puts here the great John Williams. Yes, John Williams. Everything he touches with his music just becomes cinematic gold. I mean, he writes and composes in a way that just makes you feel like that's it. It just makes you feel.
His music taps into your soul. Absolutely,
it does.
Yeah.
He knows how to emote. That's for sure.
Yeah, and when you see Luke staring at the twin suns and then the theme plays, it's amazing. It is amazing. And that is one of the things that I think sets Star Wars apart from other movies, because I can't think of any movies before that had such a dynamic soundtrack or some music that really told the story of the plot. Like the music is intertwined with the story.
You can watch
that wasn't done before that.
You can watch Star Wars without any dialogue and just listen to the music and know what's going on.
Exactly.
And it was designed that way by George Lucas. I remember hearing an interview with that with him about that. It's almost made to act like a silent film. And getting back to something that Nicole said, back in the day, I remember some theaters, the actors were so unknown that some theaters had Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing as top billing, because they were the veteran actors. Nobody, right? Exactly. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. And yes, and especially Alec Guinness didn't even like Star Wars, which is
poor guy.
Hilarious to me. Poor guy. He didn't know. He had no idea. He just thought he was in a goofy space fantasy. I mean, we didn't know what it was. So, Dani, what do you think about the original trilogy? What are its best attributes?
Well, first of all, I was born in 1980, so the original trilogy is my trilogy. That's my favorite. That's the best. That's the one that's close to my heart. I grew up wanting my own Ewok baby. I really thought that could happen for me. My first crush was Han Solo. Like, I remember all my first strong emotions came from this story. And that, to me, is what is best about the original trilogy, about A New Hope, is the story. Who cannot relate to that? Who cannot relate to feeling like, you're living in this podunk nowhere area, and you feel like you're meant for something more, but you don't know what it is. And all of the sudden, you just want to get out of your hometown. You're growing up, you're turning 18, you're graduating high school, you just want to get the hell out of your crappy little hometown. And all of a sudden this guy kind of shows up, and he's like, oh, well, how about an adventure way the fuck away from here? How about that? Does that sound nice? And you're gonna get superpowers.
That sounds like the plot of Back to the Future, actually.
Well,
there's no superpowers, but
as a small child that was totally different from everybody else, that was very relatable and appealing to me. And it just, I don't think there's a real word for it when I don't know what you would call it, Ro. It's just when you don't have a word for it. It's an attachment, it's something that special to you. You can't put words to it. You're not just a fan of it. This is a part of your life, a part of who you are, a part of your childhood.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah, it's something that has helped program your ethics, your morals, your behaviors. And it had some very beautiful messages that you can be from this garbage backwood area and still become someone who saves the freaking galaxy. It doesn't matter where you're from. You can be anything you want. The only limitation is yourself. And right. I think that is a very underrated and sometimes often missed plot to Star Wars, that it doesn't matter who you are. The only limitation is you. You can do great things. That's what I love about it.
I think the messages in Star Wars, especially the original trilogy, just really bring people together. It's about unity. Yeah. About making the galaxy a better place, about making where you are at better because you are who you are. And that's something that every person feels at their core. They want to be important. They want to do something that makes a difference. I feel like, I don't know, I feel that way. I want to do something that affects someone's life in a positive way. So that message really rings through the original trilogy, and that's why it speaks to us the way that it does, I believe. Joker Voice in the comments shares his experience with the first movie, A New Hope. He was there on opening day, and his mom is still salty because May 25th is her birthday.
Wow.
Good God, Joker, how old are you?
Ooh.
Oh no, we're getting personal here in the Dork Wars chat. I'm all for it. Let's mix it up a little bit. Grant, what do you think about the OT? What are its best attributes?
The original trilogy is coming from a different perspective for me than everyone else here.
Grant's a baby.
I am. In fact, I'm going to reveal just how much of a baby I am. The Phantom Menace was actually released before I was born. So
yeah, that's right. Oh my God, it was.
It was released the year before I was born. So like,
you're younger than my child.
Yeah.
Yeah, Grant's a spring chicken.
I'm very, very young. So
stop rubbing it in. All right. Yeah. just go on with it.
I'm bathing in the fountain of
Talk about Star
here,
Wars.
So for me, the original trilogy actually wasn't the first Star Wars thing I'd ever seen. I actually saw the prequel trilogy first because that's what I grew up with. That's what was newer for me as a kid. I was thinking, my dad is a big Star Wars fan as well, and he wanted to watch the new movies for him that had just come out for Star Wars, which was the prequels. And so I'd sit there and watch it with him, and of course I'd watch the original trilogy with him as well. But it was the prequels that was it was the prequels that kind of set the tone for me, and then seeing how different the prequels and the original trilogy are, because we're not talking about the prequels tonight. The original trilogy, it has a different tone, and it's seen. It's just like it's about hope and having hope, even when everything seems to come against you. And the way it really stands out is, in A New Hope, we see Obi-Wan Kenobi get killed right in front of Luke. I mean, he lost his adoptive parents in that movie. He loses his Uncle Ben, and then right after that, he's like, you know what? I'm still going to go out there and help this rebellion against the Empire.
This kid gets it. This kid gets it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does. That's why I keep him around. That's the whole reason.
That's how I'm able to make it on the podcast, But yeah, he's going through all this hardship, but it doesn't stop him. Okay, and that's just in the New Hope. If we go on to the next movie, and Empire Strikes Back, one of his best friends, Han Solo, gets imprisoned. He's basically taken hostage. Okay, his sister. Well, he doesn't know it's his sister yet, but Leia, she's
his best friend who he kissed, who happens to be his sister.
It could happen.
Yeah,
slights him out in a whole galaxy full of women. He kisses his sister. That's all I'm saying.
She is dealing with all sorts of things. She's a princess. She's lost her home planet in the previous film. She's learning how to deal with that.
Her brother tried to make out with her. She's got a lot on her plate.
I mean,
I'm telling you, man.
She turned to her brother for comfort, just not the comfort you might think.
That's right, Luna girl. Give Dork Wars the likes.
Yeah. But, regardless of that, Leia is the one who really gets a lot of hope in this because, Luke loses his arm. And at the end of the film, he just seems kind of down. He seems kind of downtrodden, which is different from when we saw him in the previous film. But Leia's there and is like, don't worry, we're going to work this out. We're going to figure something out. And she's the one bringing the hope. And then as we go to the last one in this trilogy, Return of the Jedi, we see Luke has been kind of reformed. He's kind of got that hope back, and he's not the same Luke that we saw in the previous two films by any means. And he is sitting there and brings that hope, and Leia has that hope. And when they save Han, it's all about giving hope back to Han in that third movie, I really believe. And it's no secret that Harrison Ford didn't want to really be in that film. He thought his role was useless at that point. But the entire film, the way I see it, is giving hope to him and Darth Vader and the galaxy as a whole. The galaxy, is to follow the Empire. Well, supposed to be, but sequel trilogy nonsense is a whole nother thing.
We'll get to it. We got a
couple
get to
weeks. Yeah, a couple weeks. But it's given hope to the galaxy. It's given hope that this tyrannical rule can end, that the Republic can be reformed, that we can see and be hopeful and live our lives and not be under this tyrannical rule and worry about, if we do something wrong, if we say something against our government, or we're going to get killed. And that's a big thing that's just, important. And it just shows how through all three films, hope is given in a different manner, but it's still all about hope.
Yeah. That's a good take, Grant. And I'm not that much older than you. I'm only 8 years older than Grant. So I grew up with, I did see the original trilogy first, but when I was younger, the prequels were a big deal, man. I had the toys, the super battle droids were awesome. The lights, it was awesome. It was great to grow up in that time just because of the Star Wars merchandise that was around. I mean, it was everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's a good perspective from Grant, just having been more of a prequels baby than a original trilogy baby, right? But it does take on a different tone. And though the movies are older, the special effects aren't as amazing or fantastical, they are amazing films. The story is told in a way that really hits you. And I think that's kind of what we've all been playing around here, is that it's a story that's timeless. It's a story that hits us every time right where we need to be hit. So moving on, if any, what are this trilogy's worst attributes? Dani, I want to start with you on this one. Can you think of any bad attributes of the original trilogy?
Are we talking about the original trilogy or the original trilogy that was released in the 90s?
We're talking about all of it. So if you think that is a black mark on it, bring it up.
Well, I wish George Lucas would have just left well enough alone when he, added his crap to it in the 90s. It just, because he was like, well, I could have, this has kind of been bothering me. I really wish I could have added this, but, hey, look, I'm rich and I can do what I want now. So I'm going to re-release the movies I already made. And then, you can't ever see the first ones I ever did in the first place ever again. Sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Those three movies were perfect the way they were. And I have no problems with the fact that, science and technology is so much more advanced these days. I'm not looking back at my old childhood movies thinking, boy, this just sucks now. I wish someone would remaster
Right.
it and put in some animations that they don't need. I've never thought that. And I felt like it was a lot of, I don't know if I want to say hubris or just.
I hate that word.
Yeah.
It said way too much in the Star Wars fandom. That's like the go-to word for bad.
Yeah. Right.
My rebuttal to
Sorry.
Danny there is.
What?
I was going to say, I guess we're starting with Danny.
Yeah.
Well, he said that. I'm
Yeah.
gonna ask you.
Oh, go.
Yeah, I said
All right.
it. I said it. We're starting
Go
with
ahead.
Danny. We're
Go
starting
ahead,
with Danny. I said
My rebuttal to Danny there is I don't think he did it to change things and, to kind of change how the original people who saw that film or that series of films, their perspective on it. I think they did it to bring in the next generation that was born. Because every time they release it, you think a new generation has started. And if you think about it,
right.
younger and younger kids don't want to watch these older films that don't have as good effects. They're like,
Well,
they
that's
see today's
just bad
films.
parenting.
Totally.
It is.
Look,
I
that's
mean,
just
yeah,
bad
yeah.
parenting.
But
I'm going to tell you right now, my children, they watch the original trilogy before they watch the prequels.
well,
Yeah.
it's just they compare to what they see today, and people like shiny, they like flashy, they like things
I'm
that
sure.
catch the attention. So they want that.
That I get, but if you can tell, so easily. It didn't look as smooth as he thought it did. You can tell was originally in the film and what he's added in. He changed the music, the cantina music. Come on, man. You can't change the cantina music.
You can't forget about
I
McClunky
did for
either.
this intro
Exactly.
for this podcast, actually.
You just
Whoops.
well, no, he changed the whole thing altogether. It wasn't anymore. He changed it.
Right.
And that's what I want to hear when they walk into the cantina. That's what I want to hear. I don't want to hear the other updated, sassier version with Big Mouth. Blah. Nah.
I can see where Grant's coming
Wait,
from.
Danny,
The
are you talking
masses-
about Return of the Jedi? Not The New Hope. The
No, I'm
cantina
talking
scene.
about all three of them.
I know, but
did-
specifically, you said the Big Mouth. You're talking about Cy Snoodles and the
I'm
special
talking
edition
about
Return.
in the third
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Whole sass.
I was talking about all three of them. That the whole original trilogy that he decided to remaster and add additional
Gotcha.
stuff
Gotcha.
in.
Yeah. Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So from a storytelling standpoint, I would have left it. I love older films. Like you look at Planet of the Apes, no one's ever remastered that. Still holds up today.
Right.
I
Good
love
movie's
it.
a good
all,
movie.
All the movies. That's right. Now, for the masses, there are people who are casual Star Wars fans. I don't mind. That's great. If you just enjoy it, you just watch the movies. You don't even watch the shows or read the books or whatever, like we all obviously do because we're all dorks here. It's Dork Wars. Yeah, they like flashy. They like new. So it's done to sell movies. It's done to sell tickets to the theater, done to sell DVDs and Blu-rays and now digital subscriptions and all that. But it happened. It did happen. And I think some of the changes are okay. You can tell a stark difference from the CGI shiny new, like in the New Hope. This is one that always gets me. They're coming into Tatooine, and they're on the speeder. They have the old filter, and then you have like the monster or whatever going, blah,
Yeah.
blah, and that's all CGI, and it kind of takes you out of the moment, because it looks
That's
starkly
it.
different from the old footage.
Mm-hmm.
And I can agree with that. I would have left it. I do like bringing in, like in the special edition, they brought in the Jabba the Hutt scene in A New Hope, where before they take off from Mos Eisley. I thought that was a good scene to add. In the newer ones, Jabba does look better than he did in the special effect of 1990. What was it, 7 or 8? When they released those.
97, I think.
Anyways, when they released those, Jabba kind of looked sick and scary, But in the new ones, I think that's a scene that looks really good, and I think they updated very well. There is still that he looks way too shiny to be here, but I think it was a good scene to add. But from a storytelling standpoint, I would have left a lot of that alone. So let's come to you, Nicole. What do you think are the worst attributes of the original trilogy, if any?
Any? I'm not nitpicky about the newer edition ones. I mean, if you like them, you like them. You don't, you don't. But I'm really not. Again, I don't know. I don't think there is. And the reason why, again, the time when they were coming out, we were looking at it at the time. Again, they were breaking into new technology, and they were breaking in things that we were not doing before. And just because now things have all of a sudden changed, gotten better, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, So, I don't know. Kudos to them for creating something amazing and masterful that we can all still talk about or argue about or debate about,
Right.
So.
It's timeless. It's a timeless story, and that's what's going to happen. I mean, people 100 years from now are going to be talking about Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Agreed. They will be. So I don't really have any real bad attributes for me.
Right. So I'm going to hold off on Ro for a moment. I'm going to go to Grant because I don't know where Ro's going to go with this one, but Grant, any worst attributes of the original trilogy?
I mean, I want to say the Jawas, or not the Jawas. I'm sorry. I want to say the Ewoks. I get them confused.
Cover your ears, Danny.
I want to say the Ewoks. Honestly.
Honey, he didn't mean it. Didn't mean it, baby.
Grant, Danny, I'm glad you guys are not in the same room.
Yeah, I feel like it's for my own safety at this point. But I want to say the Ewoks. They just, I mean,
she's got the lightsaber mixer duck, Grant. God, please.
I mean, it's no secret that originally George Lucas wanted to do a planet full of Wookiees, but he couldn't find enough tall people to do that, so he went with Ewoks. And it's not that they're not funny, because that's what they're funny, and they add a nice comedy element to it. But I don't think we needed. I don't think we needed comedy in that film. I felt like it needed to be a more serious tone and didn't need that comedic relief in Return of the Jedi. It was very all right, let's get this done. The other two films didn't really have much comedy in it, and it just feels out of place. But other than that,
the comedy in the other two films.
What do you have against adorableness, Grant?
He also hates puppies.
I was gonna say, do you hate puppies and kitties too?
Well, saying that I have
apple
one,
pie doesn't love his
love
mother.
It's fine.
Just goes on and on.
No, it's just you're right. Like the comedy in the other films are different, and it's just this one. They're like, okay, we don't really have anything funny in our script and our writing, so we're just going to add something fluffy, something funny, something that we can sell. Is what it felt like.
Okay, I gotta
Nicole
ask.
has something to say.
I have to. Maybe Danny will probably go off with me, and this is to you too, JD. So I personally love those murder little bears. To me, I love the Ewoks, but it also started this amazing career for Warwick, which was
Davis?
Huge.
Yeah.
This was huge for him. And remember, and for him, he's got a whole. I mean, even today, he's still advocating for all the jobs and things. This was huge, and he was very young at the time. He hadn't yet done Willow or anything. And of course, we have these great, even behind the scenes shots of him and Carrie Fisher, and that they're connecting. Yeah. So you can see the connection. So I love that they had them in the final movie. It was amazing. And then again, we still have Warwick today.
What do you have against Warwick Davis's career, Grant? He's got kids to feed.
Danny has taken this as a personal attack on her livelihood.
Nah, Warwick Davis is great. I love Warwick Davis.
I have a 4-year-old Ewok baby in the other room that is now going to cry himself to sleep, Grant.
I tell you what, I'll write an apology letter and send it over to him and say that he is my favorite Ewok.
Titus Tiny of Totterton.
Okay. I need to get your address later so I can mail that to you.
Just use email; it's quicker.
It's less personal.
So I'll tell you this. Yes, the Ewoks add a strange kind of comedy, and I think early in our Dork Wars days, we like went in on the livelihood of Ewoks, because we played Star Wars Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 4, and there's a game mode called Ewok Hunt where the stormtroopers just have to survive a night on Ewok with the Ewok. It's so creepy. It's the scariest game mode I've ever played in my life.
It's fun.
Because, I mean, you're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear, and then you're dead. And then you're an Ewok now.
God.
So they eat people, and they're scared. And people say they're adorable, but they're really scary. I mean, if you look at a close up of their face, they're just little. They got the sharp teeth, and it's scary. Yeah, Rose got it. So I'll tell you a funny story. My wife is not a dork. She is not a dork, and I love her to death. We are together on some things, but she's, she just don't like that kind of thing. Well, I got her to watch the original trilogy. It was a snow week, and we watched all three. We watched one each day, and her favorite part was the Ewoks, hands down. I don't know if she retained anything else in the trilogy. She just said, "Oh my God, I want one of those."
Just
and
Ewoks.
then that's it. So coming to you, Ro. By the way, before we go, Megan Rickards agrees with us people who say Ewoks, people eating teddy bears. Cute, but they will eat you.
Yep.
So I guess be nice when you
so
come over to
Ro-
my house, or my Ewok child will devour you.
So, Ro, any negative attributes? What are the worst attributes of the original trilogy?
First of all, get off my lawn. Having that said, I got a couple of things to say about some of the things that you guys mentioned. I don't think there are any negative attributes to the original trilogy. I feel that they are, pretty perfect on their own. I can try real hard to think of something negative to say about the original trilogy, and I would be hard pressed to name any. One of the things that I do feel regarding everybody's opinion, I guess, on the special editions, and this is coming from a guy who loves the technology of filmmaking. It's why I love Star Wars. I'm a behind the scenes guy. I respect George Lucas as a filmmaker. These are his babies, and I give him full reign to do whatever the hell he wants to these movies, because it was his blood, sweat, and tears that created them in the first place. And I understand through the process of what he went through with his crew that there were some things that just didn't feel right when he finished the movie. And the fact that he was able to go back in the 90s and say, you know what, I want to tweak some things here. I think that's great. I think ILM is one of the companies in modern filmmaking that pushed the envelope, that was able to inspire other filmmakers to continue to go forward. I think if Star Wars would have stopped back in the 70s and did nothing in the 90s, I think the film landscape would look a lot different. ILM did a lot of work with even the changes that were made on the special editions. And even the work that was done on the small screen with the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. And I know George Lucas was, even back then, was trying to figure out how to bring Star Wars to the small screen, how to be able to create the world of Star Wars in a television series, but without having to spend as much money as they do on film. So I think the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was kind of a training ground for ILM to be able to create these special effects on a shoestring budget, or at least less of a budget than the big budget movies. So I give him kudos. I give him props. I give them praise for pushing the envelope of technology. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like the fact that he went back and changed things. But I'm okay with it because it kind of ushered a new era of digital work that obviously You know, I remember hearing him say, you know, I want to do after Return of the Jedi. He says, I want to do new Star Wars movies, but the technology has not caught up to what I have in mind. And I think that's one really fascinating aspect of the relationship between this trilogy and the relationship between the prequel trilogy, where, you know, for the most part, that's like all digital. And I know a lot of people have problems with that, but for the most part, you know, the work that was put into that foundation to continue to grow as far as filmmaking goes, and pushing the envelope in filmmaking technology for other people, other filmmakers to use that technology and say, wow, this is really cool. Let's keep it going. I think it's commendable, and get off my lawn.
Wasn't the young Indiana Jones movie, doesn't that have the very first CGI, like fully CGI character in it? Or is that young Sherlock Holmes?
No, that's young Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, young Sherlock Holmes, the stained glass character. Okay.
Yeah. So I do want to ask you about this, Rose. So one of the things that is a contention among all Star Wars fans, and it might be just maybe I'm just fishing for some bad stuff here, but you got the who shot first thing, right? In the original trilogy, they say Han shot first, and then when they redid them in the 90s, Greedo shot first, and then now he just says McClunky as he burns to death. And what are your thoughts on that? I want to get. I don't think I've ever got this take from you, so I would like it right now.
Yeah, the McClunky factor. That was McClunky was a weird thing because it was done as soon as Star Wars: A New Hope was put on Disney. People started to find that out. I don't know what happened, what the story is. I do remember reading an interview or hearing an interview of George Lucas talking about the Greedo shot first, and I think it was when he kind of attributed that to he didn't want Han Solo to shoot first because it's kind of like a bad thing, and he didn't want kids to go in that direction. Which I guess that is, hearing it explained that way, I guess kind of has you can respect that for whatever you want to take it, but I own probably 22 versions of the original trilogy on all sorts of formats, VHS, widescreen. I'm going to burn my pan and scan VHSs for whatever that's worth. I've got laser discs, Blu-rays, regular DVDs. I've got it all. So I don't suffer from, I want to watch the original cut. I have the original cut. I mean, it was tweaked even from release date to the advent of them being released on VHS. It was still being tweaked. With different audio mixes. THX was getting different mixes because of the theaters, and they were still working with stereo and mono, and depending on what theater you went to go watch the movie, it sounded different. So I don't think there's one final version of Star Wars the way it was released back in the 70s, because like I said, even after it was released, it was still being tweaked almost weeks after the fact. But for the most part, Han shot first, and I don't know what McClunky was all about.
My mom, she actually has the original trilogy on VHS and Laserdisc, like the original ones, and she's already told me she's being buried with them. So
yeah,
I'm not getting that.
Well, and the thing is, I think it really shows how much Han Solo grows through the movie. I mean, he has character growth. That's part of it. So if he starts out as a bad guy and shoots Greedo first, who cares? He's a good guy by the end of the movie. Or by the end of the trilogy.
You know what? I wonder now, because it's a similar issue with Cassian Andor at the beginning of Rogue One. I wonder what George Lucas thinks about that aspect, because obviously Andor shot first.
That's right. Oh yeah, he sure did. And there's no remix of that yet.
I think it really demonstrates, what Ro and you guys were saying, the character growth that really takes it back to the thing I like about Star Wars, is that anybody can make it here, anybody can make it there, anyone can be redeemed, anyone can be brought back and fight for what's right. And I think taking that out and doing the McClunky just takes away from Han's growth and the message to kids that, yeah, you may have done something you shouldn't have, but if you really, really regret doing that and you reform yourself for yourself, I mean, that takes strength of, personal character. It takes strength, it takes fortitude. That's a good thing.
It really does. And I think you're right, Danny. It really does show all that. And I wish they would have left Han shot first, because I think it would have developed into, it makes his character development better for me, that he went from point A to point B. And if he wasn't a bad guy to begin with, then why wasn't he fighting with the rebellion to begin with, or doing the right thing, quote unquote, instead of running spice and doing all this? I mean, he was not depicted as a great person to begin with. I think we've just coined a phrase, though. Ro did say the McClunky factor. So next time that I get to something that's superfluous or doesn't matter or is just plain wrong, I'm going to call it the McClunky factor. I like that. I like that a lot.
Just yell McClunky.
McClunky.
It's a McClunky. No big.
So we're going to move into favorite character, ship, and location. Any of the three you want to talk about real quick? We'll get down to it. Let's start with you, Ro. What's your favorite character, ship, or location, or any combination of that in the original trilogy? Oh, we know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I asked you about character. Why did I do that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, Darth Vader. He's, as soon as I saw him walk through that door, just striking, image. Darth Vader. Ship. I guess. Everybody picks the Millennium Falcon, but I really love from the original trilogy. I really love the TIE Interceptor. It's one of my favorite TIE fighter variants, and it's so sleek looking and really cool. I got one right there. And then what else? What was the third one?
Location. What's your favorite location in the original trilogy?
That's a good one. Let's see. I think I might have to say Cloud City. It's beautiful, especially and I think I might attribute this to the special edition, because they did a lot of work on The Empire Strikes Back, expanding Cloud City, expanding some of the vistas, and they did such a great job that it made Cloud City, to me, a lot more appealing to kind of visit and check out. So I love it.
Yeah, it is a beautiful place, and it's different. Like every other planet, you're on the planet, and Cloud City is just the city in the sky. Like you're above everything else. It has a whole different feel from anything else. It's like watching the Jetsons. That's how I feel every time I see Cloud City. I think of the Jetsons. But good stuff, man. Yeah, Darth Vader's just an imposing character. Just looking at him, just his look is just terrifying. And then you add James Earl Jones as the voice, and that's it. I mean, there can be no other iconic character.
I tell you real fast. When I first got my Oculus Quest and downloaded Vader Immortal, the first time he walked up to me, I just froze there. It was so amazing. I'm like, it was awesome.
I played that. A friend of mine has it, and I tried to high five Darth Vader. It was cool. It was neat. So Nicole looked like she had something to say a moment ago.
I do, and actually, you know what? I'm going to take a step back into attributes with this one, and it goes with Vader. It does. You guys talked about James Earl Jones, but you guys also talked about how big and amazing and great he was, and yet I did not hear the name of the man who played him come off of anybody's lips, and that's David Prowse.
David Prowse, yeah.
Sure. He is amazing. He could have chosen to he was offered to either be Chewbacca or to be Darth Vader, and of course for him, he did not know that he was not going to be the voice. He did not know. They kept him in the quiet that when they did the final reveal, it was not going to be him. You know what I mean? Imagine doing that scene and thinking you're in this big movie and then having that taken away from you. And I think that is one of the attributes, because even tonight, like we were just talking about it, I'm like going, guys are, oh, he's great, he's big, and then all of a sudden James Earl Jones, and I'm like, y'all just missed like the person who really personified, and brought all that, Yes, James Earl Jones is amazing. Okay, he's iconic in his own right, and he's a legend, but then we have David Prowse, who just, he gets forgotten, and it stinks, because he deserves more than that. Because he deserves way more than what he was given.
I agree. There's a great documentary out there called "I Am Your Father." It's released in 2015, and if you haven't seen it, go watch it. And it tells the story of David Prowse and his experience with Star Wars. And I think they did him dirty in a way. Of course, I mean, I don't think you could have Darth Vader without James Earl Jones, but at the same time, they should have been straight with the man, That's just how I feel about it. But Joker Voice came up. He said his location was Death Star, of course. Death Star is awesome. And then he was talking about David Prowse and Sebastian Shaw. One thing I did not mention in the I know I had special effects as its own thing, but we kind of got into it with the negative attributes. I don't like that they replaced Sebastian Shaw with Hayden Christensen. I get why they did it, but I wasn't a fan.
That could be a whole episode on its own.
You could. I just wanted to mention it because I felt like if we didn't mention it, you got to mention it. And it's funny looking back. I made a post about it, like a meme, a couple months ago. It was an uproar. Like people got mad at me, but it's okay. But they literally just took Hayden Christensen's head and put it on Sebastian Shaw's body. Like that's literally all they did. Like they didn't even put Hayden Christensen's body in there. It's just his head superimposed on Sebastian Shaw. It's crazy. But let's move to Dani. Your favorite character, ship, location for the original trilogy.
So my favorite character is Han Solo. And I like it for, some of the reasons you said. He showed growth. He started off as an a-hole. He was a scoundrel.
Sure was.
He's also to blame for my taste in men for the last 40 years.
He had that effect on Leia too.
Ford. Whew. But he was a butthole and out for himself, and you watch him change, and he allows himself to be vulnerable with Leia. And then he gets to see what that's like on the other end. Like, what do you mean by that? And then she just walks off. Is like, how do you like it? Not so good. It's that now. So he ends up growing, and not just because he wants Leia, but because he wants to be deserving of Leia. He wants to be more. So Han, I think he's a great character, and in certain ways he's kind of underrated because there's a lot of messages that come out of his story arc. So I love Han. So of course I love the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah,
that's my favorite ship.
It's a great ship,
and it's a home. It's a flying home. You could go anywhere whenever you want. You don't have to stay in one place.
This man's living down by the river in his Millennium Falcon.
Hey, it's got a lot more room than that van down by the river.
That's right. and it's got a hyperdrive.
And it's got guns. So get off my lawn. Oh, you said no? Now you're fertilizer. And my favorite location is also Cloud City. And for a couple of reasons. One, it's nice. It's pretty. It looked, shiny. After we were all these grimy places, Tatooine, Dagobah, and then you've got this beautiful, beautiful city up in the sky, up in the clouds, and everyone's just clean and pretty. But
clean?
Yeah, clean.
They got showers. In Cloud City.
But underneath all of that pristine beauty and fancy things and expensive crap, there's a price for that.
Oh yeah.
And that price was being complacent and being a collaborator, working with Darth Vader. And you know what? Throwing your friends under the bus like repeatedly and letting the bus back up over them and flatten them some more. But that's what I love about the Cloud City location, because it's supposed to evoke that thought in us, like, oh wow, this is so nice. It's like, well, it's so nice now. I won't live in Cloud City if this is what I have to do to live here.
Right.
So that's why I love Cloud City.
That's great. And Lunar Girls chimed in on the chat. She loves Leia, the Millennium Falcon, and the Force Moon of Endor. Leia,
She would.
great character. I love Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. The Forest Moon of Endor is a beautiful place. It's beautiful scenery. Yes, they have the meth teddy bears that will eat your face at night if you're not
Stop
careful.
calling them that.
The beautifully adorable Care Bear creatures that will eat your face if you're not looking out.
Go.
They eat crackers. You see him eat crackers with Leia.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because she was nice to him. If she was not nice,
be nice to the teddy bears. Is it that much to ask?
So Nicole, favorite character, ship, and location in the original trilogy?
So it's so hard to pick because I love so many of them, but I kind of have some favorite droids like C-3PO, but I love Leia. But then how can you we cannot forget Chewbacca. I mean, Chewbacca, really, he's amazing, and every movie that we've ever seen Chewbacca in, whoever has played him, whether it been Peter Mayhew or Junis, they're amazing. And I absolutely love Chewbacca. I know that, I know Luna Girl mentioned Leia, and of course Leia's one of my favorite girls, because we didn't have that before. I mean, we had stuff, we had women in roles, but we didn't have that type of role for us girls, hard to pick a ship when I'm like, well, of course it's the Millennium Falcon, even though, Vader's cool and all this other stuff. But I'm kind of like, Dani, come on. It's a house. Let's go. I live in Illinois, man, bro. We could go into that ship and go to Galaxy's Edge. I'm just saying. And that'd be a lot better than sometimes here in Illinois. And no, I'm not forgetting R2D2 either. This is why I can't just pick one R2D. I mean, it is. I could be here all day just naming my favorites, and you guys would be like, "Are you done yet?"
This is my fault for making very hard questions. very. We could talk about them forever.
But I will get to my favorite. I've actually wrote articles about some of the different locations from Endor, and Hoth. But one of my favorites will still be, of course, with the two binary suns, and that's with the twin suns. That moment in the New Hope was amazing. Every time in the summer and in the spring, I look forward to my evening walks because I want to feel that moment. I want to feel that twin suns because I just can see Luke staring at the twin suns, and I want to stare at the beautiful, purples and oranges and pinks and be like, I can be like Luke and look at the beautiful suns. So
now I need to see a video of Nicole standing in the wind in the spring and watching the sun with John Williams playing in the background. That's what we need.
I did do this, and actually it's interesting because right around I think that was, right around a year ago. It was one of my last articles. Kind of had a little bit of writer's block. Some things have happened. But I actually stopped and I went and took a walk in the evenings and I started playing John Williams, and I'd go walk and I would get inspired and I would start writing. And I did one night, started writing about the twin suns. So
that's amazing.
Very nice.
Yeah, and going back to favorite characters, Leia. So my daughter, I've introduced her to Star Wars a little bit. We watched some of the Lego stuff and some of the animated stuff. And her favorite character, I ask her, we talk about it here and there because she's not exposed to it very much. She's turning 4 this Monday, so she's young. She's a young little youngling there. And her favorite character is Leia. Why? She doesn't know, but it's a girl, and she's in Star Wars. And that's not a bad thing because Leia is so feisty. She is headstrong. She's a leader. She's a great role model for women, for anybody. She's a great role model for me. I mean, just to be in her position, amazing character. So nothing wrong with Leia being a favorite character at all. So Grant, I want to come to you. Don't take all night, man. But
Grant, you saw what I was put up against. I got a list.
favorite character, favorite ship, favorite location.
Favorite character is Master Yoda. Just seeing him in Empire when he first shows up and he's just jumping around and messing with Luke and R2. It's just funny because we know that he knows R2D2. I mean, he's been around
Well,
him.
we know that now.
We know that
People
now.
originally did not know that.
He was just being a dick.
I mean, we
You
know that
knew that.
now.
You knew that, Grant, because you're a baby.
I knew it because of my background. But like, if you think of the whole picture and you've seen the whole picture, the whole Star Wars set of trilogies, then you know that Yoda knows him and he's just sitting there kind of messing with him. And you don't know if it's because he's losing it or if he's, just, being this crazy hermit. Because that's the way he comes off in that first film. And when you first see him, when we're first introduced, he's a crazy hermit. He's this insane old master, quote unquote. This is all Luke knows. It's like Ben tells him, hey, you need to go here and meet Yoda. He's going to teach you. And he has no idea what Yoda looks like. He doesn't have anything. He has expectations because all he knows is Ben Kenobi as the Jedi. That's the only Jedi he knows. And he goes and he finds this little, tiny, funny, creepy, disgusting creature. And he's like, who are you? I'm looking for Master Yoda,
He's just plain yogurt.
Like, what? He's looking for this great Jedi Master, and he doesn't believe that it could be him. And he's proven very, very wrong. And Yoda just, you see it in like an instant. You can tell he was just kind of trying to test Luke, see what he thought, if he was, truly worthy of becoming a Jedi in almost a way. Because you see when Luke, figures out that he's Yoda, you can just see how Yoda just switches. He goes from that crazy hermit to that wise Jedi Master.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He just turns the switch. Is like, okay, you passed or you failed the test. Actually, Luke fails the test. Let's be honest. He fails that first test.
He does.
And that's why he doesn't become a Jedi before he leaves in Empire Strikes Back. Well, one of the reasons. Partly. He fails this test. And that's a big thing for Luke there. And it shows that he has still more to learn and more to grow. So that's why Master Yoda is my favorite character. For my favorite ship, Joker's going to be very happy. It's the Super Star Destroyer. I mean, now thinking about my entire lineup is just Empire Strikes Back.
Ain't nothing wrong with it, honey.
But like you think about back to New Hope, we saw how big the Star Destroyers were, and you're just like, wow. I mean, you come in and you see this little freighter running, and then you just have this long, huge Imperial Star Destroyer just chasing them, and you're just like, what in the world? How's that even fair? How's the Rebel Alliance supposed to win that? And then you go to the beginning of Empire Strikes Back, and you get a Star Destroyer, and then you just get the shadow just going over it, and you're like, whoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just big. Like it's jaw dropping. The first time I watched it, I can remember my like, how is something, and it's like 7 to 10 of those Star Destroyers equals Super Star Destroyer. It almost seems like it's ridiculously massive, and you're like, how in the world did they make that and a Death Star and all these other Star Destroyers, and yet the Rebel Alliance is running around with little freighters that are like able to be fit into a hangar on a Star Destroyer, and that's all they got. That's the best thing they got at that time, because we didn't know about the Mon Calamari at this point. It was just so different, and so like it showed how strong the Empire really was and what the Rebel Alliance was truly facing. Even after they took out the Death Star, they took out their super weapon, but they were still way outgunned, and it really hits it there. For my favorite location. It is certainly got to be Hoth for me. That opening battle and just set of scenes on Hoth is really different from anything else that we've seen in Star Wars. We haven't seen another ice desert, or not ice desert, but I guess it's kind of like a tundra planet. We've only seen Hoth throughout all 3 trilogies. We've seen multiple desert planets. We've seen multiple, different lush green planets. We didn't have Coruscant in there. I think Coruscant would be probably it for the prequel trilogy, but in this, Hoth is the one place. It has the ice. It's very unique. The battle there is so nice. It's the first time we see AT-AT walkers and AT-ST walkers. I mean, it's very awesome. And then you got the snow speeders and, Luke using his lightsaber for the first time, really using his lightsaber for something. And, we got not the Jawas. We have the not the Rancor. Dear God, what in the world is that thing called?
Wampa.
Wampa.
Yeah, Wampa.
I don't know. I'm going through every apparently species of anything that's in the original trilogy, but the right one.
What is it?
The Wampa there, and Han just doing anything he can to keep Luke alive in that negative freezing temperature all night long, and not really worrying about himself. He's like, I gotta go save my friend, and that was another big point of Han's growth there. It's just Hoth was just, and then Vader walking through at the end, and you see the stormtroopers trying to shoot all the ships as they're trying to go out and stop them. It was just so incredible. They finally got this base set up. It seemed like they just got it done. And now it's found and it's destroyed, and they're abandoning ship as quickly as possible. So it was just, Hoth is different. It's amazing. And it was just set the tone for Empire entirely.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So I'm going to give mine real quick. The only thing about Hoth is you can't get to a Wendy's real quick. They're few and far between on Hoth. But for me, my favorite character, I bounce between, man. I love Master Yoda, obviously. Anyway, I just to peel back a layer of Dork Wars, the podcast, when you hear Yoda on our show, it's me, actually. I do that.
Right on.
We don't have Master Yoda there. What? Despite what you all may think at home. But Darth Vader, I have to go with Ro, man. I just love that imposing figure. That Ro really said it all for the character, so I don't have to say too much, but I just love the way he strikes fear in all that he's presented to. Favorite ship is the X-Wing. Love the X-Wing. It's classic. It's sleek. It gets in there. It's what blows up the Death Star. It's a bad machine. I really, really like the original X-Wings, and one of my favorite ships in the sequel trilogy is actually the updated X-Wing. Looks great, but we're not talking about that. Favorite location, got to be the Death Star. Love the Death Star. It's a mechanical monstrosity. Planets, like it's the size of a moon. Like, it's amazing. Love it. So that's my picks. That's my picks for those. So let's move into our final little bit here. Just a 1 through 10 rating. We'll go right down the line. Let's start with Ro. Ro, 1 out of 10. What do you give the original trilogy?
Like I said, flawless, wonderful execution for the most part, great actors, wonderful lore, magical performances by everyone, and obviously, timeless films. Does your scale only go to 10?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Let's turn it up to 11, baby.
Yeah, all the way. Yeah, you can't go wrong with the original trilogy.
So, Nicole, what do you give the original trilogy 1 out of 10?
I'm with Ro here. Why are we just going to 10? Give it 100. It's perfect. Right? Grading scale, 100's the top. If you're at school, it's 100. It's an A+. I mean, it's amazing. Right. It's an amazing trilogy. And again, it was a one of a kind at the time. And bringing in new stuff. So I give it an A+, 100.
Give it whatever it needs, right? Dani, exactly. 1 out of 10.
Right.
The original
I completely
trilogy.
agree with Ro and Nicole. You can't slap a number on perfection.
Right.
That's right.
Can't quantify it.
Grant, dare I ask you?
Come on, Grant.
Over 9,000.
Oh.
Dragon Ball Z reference. Oh my gosh. We'll have to talk Dragon Ball Z one day. We'll have to do it. So I guess you're going perfect 10 too. Man, I would feel bad if I gave it anything less than a 10. I'm with you
better
guys.
not.
I can't. I mean,
don't get us kicked out of the Red 5. Come on, please.
Don't mess it up. Think it through, baby. Think it through. How can you quantify perfection? It hit all the right feels. When you watch these movies, you can relate. I love these movies. Anytime you sit down to watch them, they're not any less impactful. every time you watch them, there's something new I notice every time I watch this trilogy. I mean, it's been out for 40 plus years.
Yep.
And
same thing here.
What other movies can you say that about? There's not many.
Indiana Jones.
That's true too. Like I said there's not many. And you guys are talking about it was one of a kind for the time. Yes, it was the first major movie franchise, I believe, that really broke big. I mean, Planet of the Apes was before this, and they had their run of movies, but nothing is successful as Star Wars.
It's the Beatles of movies.
Yeah, totally, 100%. And I think Grant got a new fan for his cult. Grant started a cult on Twitch about 6 months ago. Somehow.
Yes, I did.
By accident.
Dream big, kiddo. Dream big.
It was an accident. Yeah, they love him on Twitch. They started not liking all us other people on Twitch because we made fun of Grant. Like, it was bad. It was bad. But it's all in good fun. Just ending this up here. Thank you guys for coming on. Our Red 5 family, Ro, Nicole, newest member Dani, and boy, did you add something fun to this chat. I enjoyed having you on.
I don't
all
know
of
how
you
to
guys.
shut up.
No, that's totally fine.
She doesn't. We did an episode with her. She does it.
Damn it. I'm never going to live that down.
Next Dork Wars Live, I'm just putting Dani on. I'm like, all right, so today we're talking about Dani, take it away. And that's going to be it.
7 hours later.
That's right. But thank you guys for coming on. I enjoy everything. Ro, where can we find you real quick? You and your podcast.
Oh, yes. You can find the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast wherever you get your other favorite podcasts. We are on all the favorite podcatchers. And we do live shows on YouTube, Scarif Live, Saturdays. Whatever topics we think of, we're going to do. We're going to be doing some reviews for Kenobi once that drops. And yeah, we are on all the socials. Find us on Red 5 BioLink. And yeah, we're everywhere.
Amazing. Nicole, where can we find you and your podcast?
Well, I'm Nicole. I'm actually on Twitter as Peace Love Star Wars, a part of the Rogue One Radio. So you can find me on Twitter as well as Facebook and Instagram with Rogue One Radio. Also part of the Red 5. Cannot forget that.
Can't forget that. Is there any other network? Just a fun tidbit. We had DJ on our last Dork Wars Live and even on our main Dork Wars podcast. That they are co-hosts. DJ and Nicole are co-hosts. Mm-hmm. Great show. I've been joining in the last couple Tuesday nights. I actually have a job teaching kids music on Tuesdays. Aww. It sounds a lot better. Yeah, it sounds a lot better out loud than in execution. But I get to join in about 30 minutes to an hour in, and great show. Love the breakdowns. Just an awesome show. Go give them a sub and a like as well. Dani, where can we find you in your podcast?
Well, you can find Comics and Cosmetics on the YouTubes. I drop a new episode every Saturday, and what I do is I sit and talk about whatever nerdy topic I've been obsessing about while doing my makeup at the same time. I never talk about the makeup. I just talk about the nerdy stuff. So don't worry. I'm not going to tell you how to contour, fellas. It's what I'm doing while I'm talking about it. And that is on YouTube every Saturday. Starting next Sunday, I will be going live every Sunday. And that's going to be at first us talking about Moon Knight, because Moon Knight comes out Wednesday. Woo-hoo. If you don't know anything about Moon Knight, check out my YouTube channel. I got a video on it. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook also, and Twitter, but Twitter has a different handle that's D_SONCASIE. You know what? Just look up Comics and Cosmetics. I'm sure it'll pop up.
Yeah, that's what we say on Dork Wars. Just look it up on the Google.
Yeah, no one's gonna learn how to pronounce or spell my last name, so I just need to give it up.
That's right. So you can find me and Grant anywhere that you get your favorite podcasts. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, on Instagram, the whole deal. Here on YouTube. Like the channel. Subscribe. We'd love to have you as regular listeners. Input your stuff. Give us comments, feedback. We love all that stuff. Interacting with you guys is probably the best part of doing these podcasts. I love it. So that's where you can find Dork Wars, a podcast. I think that's about it for the night, guys. Thanks again for everyone being on. Thank you, everybody out there listening, for those who are listening now and will listen. I'm going to say go Duke again, just for luck. Thanks, and may the Force be with you.
Thank you for supporting Dork Wars, the podcast. You can check us out on Facebook.com/Dork Wars, the podcast. And if you would like to join in on the discussion or maybe suggest topics for us to discuss, please do so by joining our Discord community or sending us an email at dorkwarspodcast@gmail.com.